Ant-Man and the Wasp is once again directed by Peyton and is the newest addition to the MCU. I personally really liked the first Ant-Man movie. I thought it was quite funny. I liked how it was a lot more downscaled compared to the other MCU movies that we were getting at the time. And I also appreciated how it used its action scenes in a very creative and unique kind of way. And that's pretty much what I was expecting from this one. Nothing special, just a fun, enjoyable movie like the first one. And I gotta say, for the most part, that's kind of what I got. This is a pretty entertaining movie, and I will say that it is a nice change of pace to have such a enjoyable and fun movie after the somewhat depressing ending we got in Avengers Infinity War. The biggest highlight of this movie for me was definitely the action scenes, because like the first movie, they used the shrink and enlarging abilities of Ant-Man and the Wasp to really benefit the action scenes and make them as different as possible. I do think the fight scenes in the first movie were a lot more creative and unique with how they went about that way of doing it, but this movie does carry over a lot of those same ideas and still makes them work for the most part. There are some really funny moments in these action scenes, and for the most part those were the moments I probably will remember the most. I also thought the acting was really good. Paul Rudd is Ant-Man at this point. I like how he's kind of gone away from like his comedy roots, because I've only really known him for comedy movies. And even though the Ant-Man films are still pretty much comedies, I like the fact that you do get a more somewhat dramatic side to him in this film. It's nothing too drastic, but I'm mostly talking about the relationship that he has with his daughter. I thought that was really nice to see. And the little subplot he has where he has to kind of stay at home, I really liked that and how they weaved it in with the rest of the story. But yeah, all the other acting is really good. Michael Pena as Louis, though, just like the first movie, in this one he steals every scene he is in. He's the funniest thing about the first movie, and he is easily the funniest thing in this one as well. I also thought the bad guy in this movie, Ghost, was pretty cool as well. Not just the power that she has, but also her motivations for doing what she's doing were quite heartfelt, and I really understood where she was coming from. Yeah, she didn't really do much else besides just being there as a menacing presence, but the reason why she's trying to do what she's trying to do just kind of added a bit more of an emotional perspective from, you know, her point of view, and I really liked that, because you don't really get that with many other Marvel villains. You kind of get that with Killmonger in Black Panther, but here I think it works a little bit better. I don't think she is better than Killmonger, because Michael B. Jordan made that character his own. But here, for the motivation standpoint, I do think Ghost is a pretty strong villain. Now, unfortunately, the weaker aspects of this movie do rear their head at quite a few points in the film, and they do stop it from being as enjoyable as it can be. Like I said, for the most part, I did think this was a fairly entertaining movie, but there are still problems with it. The first of those problems, this was just a personal preference for me, but it's typically regarding the quantum realm. We got a little bit of it in the first movie, but here they feature it quite a lot, especially in the third act of the movie. And the effect and the way it looks and the way they used CGI to make it is pretty cool. But the thing is, I feel like it would have been a lot more impressive if Doctor Strange hadn't done a similar, more impressive thing 2 years ago. Because the visuals in Doctor Strange were just mind-blowingly amazing. But here they try and do a very similar thing, but because we've already seen it done in the best possible way in Doctor Strange, it doesn't quite have the same effect. Also, from what I remember, the first Ant-Man movie had me laughing fairly consistently. This one, on the other hand, its jokes are somewhat hit and miss. Apart from the scenes that have Louis in them, which are really funny, with one scene in particular that is hilarious, everything else is either falls flat or just gets like a little mutter from me. which is a shame because the first one was quite funny, and like I said, there are some funny moments in this movie as well, but everything else is just not as funny as it could have been. In the end though, I did still enjoy this movie and it kept me entertained pretty much throughout its entire runtime, but compared to the first one, I just think it lacks something that I can't quite put my finger on, especially when not all of the jokes hit their mark, which is why I'm going to give Ant-Man and the Wasp a 7.5 out of 10. Was kind of hoping to give it an 8, but, you know, like I said, it just lacks that something that I can't quite put my finger on. So guys, that was my review for Ant-Man and the Wasp. I hope you enjoyed it, and remember, if you haven't put your request in for request week yet, then I will put the annotation for the announcement video for request week in the end card of this video, so you can go and check it out. The deadline is going to close very soon. I don't know when, but once I have enough requests, I will close the deadline, and I'm hoping to do that maybe sometime next week. So if you haven't put your request in, do it now. If you enjoyed the video, then give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Bye!